My name is Daisy, and I saw the blue lights in my rearview mirror at 1:47 a.m. I wasn't speeding, my registration was current, but when Officer Torres walked to my window, he didn't ask for my license, he went straight to the trunk. He lifted the carpet under the spare tire and pulled out a taped package I'd never seen before. He looked at me like I was already guilty. I thought about what my stepbrother Mark had whispered at breakfast that morning. You won't make it to the meeting tomorrow. That's when I understood. This wasn't random. This was planned. Before I tell you what the dashcam recorded in my garage 6 hours earlier, drop a comment. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you protected? I sat in the back of the police car with my hands cuffed. I wasn't panicking. I was thinking about a rope. When I was 12, my father bought a sailboat. He taught me how to tie the anchor line. This rope keeps the boat from drifting into danger, he'd said. Without it, the boat looks free, but it crashes. For 18 years, I'd been that rope for our family. I held the business accounts. I managed the trust fund. I paid Mark's car insurance and covered his credit card minimums when he maxed them out. Mark was the boat. Shiny, expensive, always floating. He never looked down to see what was holding him steady. Tonight, he'd tried to cut the rope. He didn't realize that when you cut an anchor line, the boat doesn't become free. It just drifts toward the rocks. They let me make one phone call. I didn't call a lawyer. I called Mark. I needed to hear his voice. He answered on the first ring, too fast for 2 a.m. "Where are you?" he asked. His voice was tight, awake. I told him I'd been arrested, that they'd found drugs in my car. He said, "That's terrible." But his tone wasn't sad. It was relieved. Excited, even. He said he'd call the family lawyer, that he'd handle the inheritance meeting without me. "Don't worry about anything," he said. Then he hung up. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't ask if I needed bail money. He asked nothing, because this was exactly what he wanted. He thought the game was over. He had no idea it was just starting. Mark didn't know who I really was. To him, I was just the quiet stepsister who lived in the guest house behind the main property. He saw me on my laptop and assumed I was watching videos or playing games. He didn't know I was the chief financial officer of our father's manufacturing company. He didn't know I managed the family trust that funded his lifestyle. He didn't know I was the one who negotiated the lease on his penthouse downtown, or that I paid the property taxes on the house he thought he owned. I was invisible infrastructure. I kept the lights on, the water running, the bills paid. He thought his life was easy because he was special. He never realized his life was easy because I was working. And when you're invisible for that long, people forget you can see everything. There was a clause in our father's will, standard language. If any beneficiary is convicted of a felony, they are disqualified from inheriting. The assets go to the remaining heirs. Mark had gambling debts, serious ones. I knew because I saw the alerts from the offshore accounts he thought were private. He owed people who don't negotiate payment plans. He needed the entire inheritance, not half. So he had to erase me. Not kill me, just disqualify me. Make me a felon so he could walk away a millionaire. It was math to him. Cold, simple, efficient. He didn't think about what it would do to my life. He only thought about what it would do for his. I made bail at 9 a.m. I took a taxi home. The house was empty. Mark was gone, probably already at the lawyer's office spinning the story about his troubled stepsister's arrest. I walked into the garage. It was a 3-car detached building. Mark treated it like his personal showroom. He kept his Audi and his Porsche there. My sedan was tucked in the corner. He thought the garage was just a building. He didn't know I'd upgraded the electrical system last month, or that I'd installed motion sensors, or that the Wi-Fi router in the back closet wasn't just a router. It was a server, and it had been recording everything for 3 weeks. Mark never looked at blinking lights. He never asked questions. That's what happens when you think you're smarter than everyone around you. I opened the security logs. I didn't use regular cameras. Those are easy to spot. Instead, I'd installed a 360-degree dashcam in my car that activates on motion and uploads to the cloud even when the car is off. It syncs with the garage motion sensors. I pulled up the file timestamped 11:42 p.m., the one from 6 hours before my arrest. The video was clear. The motion lights clicked on. Mark walked in wearing gloves. He looked around. He was nervous, twitchy. He walked to my car and used a Slim Jim to pop the trunk. He didn't struggle. He'd done this before, or practiced. He placed the package carefully under the spare tire. Then he did something I'll never forget. He laughed. Not out loud, just a silent, shaking laugh. He patted the trunk like you'd pat a dog. Then he looked directly at the rear view mirror and winked, like he was in a movie. He didn't see the tiny red light on the dashcam recording him. The inheritance meeting was scheduled for 4 p.m. I showered. I put on my best suit. I felt strange, not angry, just light, like I'd been holding my breath for years and could finally exhale. I drove a rental car downtown to the law offices of Henderson and Associates. Mark was already there when I walked in. He was sitting at the head of the conference table. He looked sad, performatively sad. He was telling the estate attorney, Mr. Henderson, about my situation, about how the family name needed protecting, about how we couldn't distribute assets to someone facing felony charges. He was very concerned, very responsible. When I opened the door, Mark stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. "You should be in jail," he said. Not a question, a statement. I sat down calmly at the opposite end of the table. "I made bail," I said. "We need to talk." Mr. Henderson cleared his throat. He looked uncomfortable. "Given the pending charges," he said carefully, "we may need to delay the distribution of your father's estate." Mark nodded eagerly. "Exactly. We can't give money to a drug dealer. It would dishonor Dad's memory." He said it with such conviction, such fake sadness. I placed my tablet on the table between us. The screen was black. "I'm not a drug dealer," I said quietly. "I'm a witness." I pressed play. The video started. We all watched Mark walk into the garage. We watched him pop my trunk. We watched him place the package. We saw him laugh. We saw him wink at the mirror. The only sound in the room was the air conditioning and Mark's breathing getting faster. When the video ended, no one spoke. Mark's face had gone from tan to gray. Mark stood up. His chair fell backward. "That's fake," he shouted. "That's AI. You edited that." His voice cracked. Mr. Henderson didn't look at Mark. He kept staring at the tablet. "The timestamp matches the police report exactly," he said. His voice was cold now, professional. "And that's clearly you, Mark. I've known you since you were 16. Mark looked at me, really looked at me for maybe the first time in years. "You're my sister," he said. Not a statement, a plea. "You won't press charges." I shook my head slowly. I already sent the footage to the district attorney an hour ago to clear my name. Mark sat down, not in his chair, on the floor, like his legs just stopped working. "But I'll go to jail," he whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Mr. Henderson closed his folder. The sound was loud in the quiet room. "Mark," he said, "under the terms of your father's will, attempted fraud to alter the distribution of assets disqualifies you from the trust." Mark looked up at him, then at me. "But I have debts," he said. "I have the house payment, the car leases. I stood up. I pulled an envelope from my jacket pocket and placed it on the table in front of him. "What's this?" he asked. His hands were shaking when he picked it up. "My resignation," I said. "From the company, from the trust administration, from managing the accounts." I watched his face as he read it, watched him understand. "You can't leave," he said. "You do everything. I don't know the passwords. I don't know the vendors. "I know," I said. "You wanted to be the only heir. Now you're the only owner of a business you don't understand." Mark started crying, not sad crying, panic crying. "Please," he said, "I made a mistake. I'll fix it. Just don't leave." I looked at him, really looked. I tried to find the kid I grew up with, the one who used to share his Halloween candy, the one who cried at our father's funeral. But that person was gone. Or maybe he'd never existed. Maybe I just invented him because I needed to believe the rope was tied to something worth saving. "I'm not leaving to punish you," I said. "I'm leaving because I'm tired of being invisible." I picked up my tablet. The district attorney has the video. Your creditors will call when the automatic payments stop tomorrow. Mr. Henderson will file the trust modification within the week. I walked to the door. Mark called my name. "Daisy, wait!" I didn't turn around. I just kept walking. The hallway was bright, clean. The elevator doors opened immediately, like they'd been waiting. I didn't go back to the guest house. I'd packed my things that morning. 2 suitcases, a laptop bag, everything else could stay. I checked into a hotel near the airport. Nothing fancy, just clean and quiet. I ordered room service, sat by the window, watched the planes take off into the dark sky. I thought about the rope again, about anchors and boats, and the difference between holding something steady and holding yourself down. For 18 years, I'd told myself I was helping, that I was being responsible, that family meant sacrifice. But sacrifice is supposed to be mutual. It's supposed to be seen. I'd been sacrificing myself to someone who didn't even notice I existed until I stopped. That's not family, that's just convenient. And I was done being convenient. My phone buzzed. Texts from Mark. 17 of them. I didn't read them. I turned off my phone and put it in the drawer. The room was quiet. Really quiet. Not the heavy silence of waiting for something bad to happen, just the clean, empty silence of nothing being required from me. No bills to pay, no accounts to balance, no emergencies to solve. No one who needed me to be small so they could feel big. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel victorious. I just felt the weight leave my chest. Like I'd been holding a boulder for so long I'd forgotten what my arms felt like without it. The rope had finally let go, and the boat was drifting away without me. I didn't know where it would crash, and for the first time in 18 years, I didn't care. The next morning, I had coffee in the hotel lobby. I checked my email. There was one from Mr. Henderson. Short, professional. The trust assets have been frozen pending criminal investigation. Mark's disqualification is being processed. Your resignation is accepted. Thank you for your years of service. I closed the laptop. I looked out the window at the city. I realized something. Revenge isn't about making someone suffer. It's about stopping your own suffering. It's about refusing to be the solution to someone else's selfishness. Mark didn't lose because I destroyed him. He lost because I stopped saving him. There's a difference. One makes you a villain, the other just makes you free. I finished my coffee. I picked up my suitcase. I walked out of the hotel into the morning light. I didn't know where I was going yet, but I knew I was going alone, and that felt like the rightest thing I'd done in years. If you've ever been the rope holding someone else's life together, you're not selfish for letting go. You're not cruel for walking away. You're just finally choosing yourself. And that's not revenge. That's survival. Share your story in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. And if this felt familiar, subscribe, because you're not alone.